east and west through highways, railways, and air routes. And historically, Tehran sits along the old Silk Road. So it is a city shaped by trade, by movement, by strategy. Azeris have been part of Persian civilization for many hundreds of years. They are not Persians, but are an important part of Persian and Iranian history and culture. They are very well respected in Iran. Contrary to Western propaganda, Azeri identity is not suppressed by the Islamic Republic. In fact, most people in this region, as I mentioned earlier, speak Azeri first, Farsi or Persian second, and some can't even speak Persian at all. To get a sense of how much mobility and respect Azeris have in Iranian society, all you have to do is look at the very top. The late supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was Azeri himself, who was born in the eastern city of Khamenei in eastern Azerbaijan province of northwestern Iran. So naturally, Azeris are very proud of this fact. So despite having a distinct cultural identity, ethnicity, and language, Azeris still view themselves as an important part of Iran. You can even describe them as being inseparable from Iran. So Azeris are respected, happy, and loyal to Iran. Isfahan is the third most populous city in Iran, located in the central parts of the country. But it's not just another major city. Isfahan was once the capital of Iran under the Safavid dynasty, a period when Persia was at the height of its cultural, architectural, and political power. That legacy is still visible everywhere you look. Isfahan is one of the most historically and culturally rich cities in the region. At the center of it is Nakhchivan Square, one of the largest city squares in the entire world, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Geographically, it sits in a very unique position. Isfahan lies on a plateau in central Iran, surrounded by arid plains, but framed in the distance by the Zagros mountain range. These mountains,
I swear, bro, these mountain ranges, one, I mean, they look nice, and two, they're a bitch to get over. Like, guys, when we did that rescue mission for our well, for the guy that got shot down in Iran, like, what was it, like a couple months back? Yeah, bro, we all, if you didn't read the report, bro, the helicopter almost overheated getting over the mountain range. Like, the hardest part about that mission was hopefully the helicopter wasn't too heavy to make it over these big ass mountains. So these aren't something that we can just, ignore. And like I said, it is like a built-in fortress. They got two big ass mountains to the left and they right, to the east and to the west. We got two big oceans. They got two big ass mountains.
Mountains historically acted as both a barrier and a shield, protecting the region while also shaping trade routes and movements across the country. Running through the city is the Zayan-de-Rud River, one of the most important lifelines in central Iran. In a region that is otherwise dry and unforgiving, this river made settlement.
Oh, guys, so wild also about Iran. One, yeah, it does have a lot of rivers that they can get water from. And so here's the problem, like striking, like, now I thought that Iran's desalination center getting struck was really going to hurt them, but that turned out not to be true. Actually, Iran only gets 2% of its water from its water desalination center. Like, all these lakes that they have right here is where they get a good amount of their water from. Now, they're still going through a water crisis. Let's not get it twisted. But the water desalination, it does not really affect Iran like it would affect Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, who get like 40 to like 99% of their water from water desalination centers. So the problem is Iran ain't really taking the same risks of getting their water desalination struck like the rest of the Middle East.
Agriculture and expansion possible. That is partly why Isfahan became what it is. It wasn't random, it was strategic, and culturally it has always been diverse. Even during the time of Cyrus the Great, Isfahan was known for its religious and cultural tolerance. And that spirit still exists today. The city is home to Muslims, Christians, Jews, and many others, with mosques, churches, cathedrals, and
this is another propaganda. Oh, it's just a Muslim state. They don't, like, if you think you can sit there and pray in Iran, they'll chop your head off. It's like, no, bro, no. Like, they literally got Jews, Christians, and Muslims damn near praying side by side in the same city. I mean, bro, they got a pretty large population of Jews. They respect their Christians. I believe it was part of the Ayatollah's culture for Christmas. He would go out and eat with the Christians. So, this country is actually pretty religiously accepting, despite what the propaganda tries to tell you or Western media try to tell you about it. Yeah, it's not just, oh no, all it is Islam. If you practice anything else, you're getting hung and your head chopped off, and they're killing your family as well. No, none of that.
Its religious and cultural tolerance. And that spirit still exists today. The city is home to Muslims, Christians, Jews, and many others, with mosques, churches, cathedrals, and synagogues all coexisting within the same space. So when you look at Isfahan, you're not just looking at a city, you are looking at a place that has carried history, culture, religion, and power through nearly every era of human civilization. Before the Safavids, Iran was largely Sunni, but when the Safavids came to power in the 16th century, they made a decisive move. They adopted Twelver Shi'ism as the official state religion and forced its adoption across the population. This wasn't just a theological decision, it was a political one. The Safavids were surrounded by powerful Sunni empires like the Ottomans to the west, and adopting Shi'ism created a clear identity that separated them from their rivals and unified their territory under a distinct ideology. That shift reshaped Iran, not just religiously, but culturally. The Safavid period did place a much stronger emphasis on visual storytelling, royal imagery, and historical scenes. They invested heavily in art as a way to project power, identity, and legitimacy. They even relocated entire communities of Armenian Christians to Isfahan, particularly to the district of New Julfa, where they became central to trade, craftsmanship, and artistic production. Many of the techniques and styles you see in Safavid era art were influenced or developed.
I'm weak. He set the Christians up to win in the trade. All right. All right. I mean, hey,
through these communities. And that cultural
in the old days, it's old days, Iran. Not current day, not current day.
Openness carried forward. Shiraz is one of the oldest cities in Iran. Its history goes back over 4,000 years, mentioned in ancient tablets as far back as 2000 BC, which means this isn't just another city. This is a place that has existed through almost every phase of Persian civilization. Geographically, Shiraz sits in the southwest of Iran, in the province of Fars, the historical heartland of Persia itself. This is the same region that gave rise to the Achaemenid Empire, to Cyrus the Great, and to nearby sites like Persepolis. The city itself lies at an elevation of about 1,500 meters above sea level, surrounded by the Zagros Mountains. These mountains matter. They've always acted as both a protection and isolation, shielding the region while also shaping how people, trade, and armies move through it. And like many major Iranian cities, Shiraz grew where survival was possible, where water, trade routes, and geography all intersected. That is why it has endured. And the elevation gives Shiraz
and I know what some people are going to say, like, well, Set, isn't Christianity banned in Iran? No, it's not. It's actually a certain sect of Christianity that's banned. You know what that sect is called? Zionism. Yes, the same Zionism that we deal with and have problems with here. Yeah, they got the same problems there, and they pretty much banned an entire sect of Christianity, which is Zion. Well, evangelism, pretty much.
A very different climate than what you might expect. When people think of Iran, they imagine heat, dry.
Any other denomination of Christianity, I mean, it's going to fly.
Desert. But Shiraz, especially in the spring, is cold, wet, and unpredictable. Every day I was there, it rained consistently. Historically, Shiraz wasn't always the political capital, but it was often something just as important. It was a center of culture, of knowledge, of identity. After the Islamic conquest, it rose in importance and became a major regional capital. By the medieval period, it had earned a reputation as a center of art, scholarship, and literature, so much so that it was known as the House of Knowledge. This is the city that produced some of the most important figures in Persian history, like the poets Hafiz and Sa'di Shirazi. Their tombs are still here today, not just as historical sites, but as places people actively visit, reflect, and connect with. In Shiraz, poetry isn't just literature, it's part of the culture, the identity of the people, the way that they understand their lives. And the city is also known for its gardens, not just for their beauty, but for what they represent. Order in the middle of chaos. Life in the middle of dryness. That same Persian idea of paradise we discussed in a previous episode, an enclosed, cultivated world. And at different points in history, Shiraz did become the capital, most notably under the Zand dynasty in the 18th century, when it was rebuilt and expanded into a major political and economic center. But even when it wasn't the capital, it remained something else. Shiraz was a cultural capital, a city of poets, gardens, and ideas. a place that preserved Persian identity, even as empires rose and fell all around it. Shiraz is famous for its sour orange trees, known as naranj in Farsi. This isn't something recent. For centuries, Shiraz has been known as a city of gardens and fragrance. Naranj trees were brought into the region through early trade routes and became deeply rooted in the identity of the city, especially during the Islamic and medieval periods, when Persian garden culture was at its peak. These aren't just decorative, they are part of daily life. Their blossoms are used for fragrance, for cooking, for medicine, and during the springtime, you can smell them everywhere. I am not exaggerating when I say that the entire city carries the scent of the sour orange. Street after street, neighborhood after neighborhood, almost every household plants and takes care of these trees. It's part of the culture here. But Bushehr isn't just important because of oil. It has a history of resistance as well. Over 100 years ago, during World War I, this city became a center of anti-colonial struggle against the British Empire. Led by Rais Ali Delvari, local fighters launched a resistance campaign against British forces that had occupied parts of southern Iran to control trade routes and oil access. He wasn't a general, he wasn't backed by a major army. He was just a local leader fighting with what he had. And for years, he resisted. Eventually, he was killed, but his legacy stayed. And in a place like this, that history matters, because when you understand that Bushehr has already fought off foreign control once, you start to understand how people here see what's happening today. Bandar Abbas is a major coastal port city that sits...
So basically a whole, I would say a whole, what was it? A whole legacy, or I guess a whole identity in resistance. They have a whole identity when it comes to resisting colonial powers, which they definitely see us as.
Along a natural bay formed by a chain of islands like Qashm Island and Larak Island, all positioned within the critically important Strait of Hormuz. This waterway has effectively become a choke point, a clogged artery. The flow of Gulf oil and gas has slowed to a crawl, with only limited ships passing through, often under very strict oversight from the IRGC Navy. That pressure has sent energy prices skyrocketing, putting massive economic and political strain on the US and its Gulf allies, who rely heavily on the uninterrupted flow of energy through this strait. You see, in this war, everything comes down to the Strait of Hormuz. Not how many buildings are destroyed, not how many people are killed or pilots or soldiers are captured, but control over this waterway. That is...
But all right, now let's get a breakdown of, well, the IRGC and their military. So we're going to go to this video here, pretty much go to the end of it. Oh yeah. Oh, and the last guy, his name is Propaganda and Co. If you want to go check him out, guys, he got some really great videos. You know what? I might show another one tonight, bro, because he got some really good ones. So let's go ahead and get right into with this next one here, the Islamic Republic, and why is the regime so hard to beat? Well, let's go ahead and get right into it.
He gets the military to flip, to stop supporting the old government, and he quickly consolidates some control over the chaos. Foreigners flee, especially British and Americans, who are enemy number one. Though the revolutionaries do seize 66 Americans and hold them hostage for over a year, Khomeini dissolves the old government, the monarchy, the parliament, and he replaces it with a new system, one that he developed while in exile. Hey, if you're still watching, you are probably somebody who wants to better understand the world. Yep. So do the thousands, and I'll see you over there. This is a huge moment in the story. The people just overthrew a Western-backed regime, not with force and a war, but through sheer will of the population. 40 million people who are tired of this story of being controlled by outsiders. I want to take a moment to show you what they built next. The inside of the regime. Because the regime that Khomeini built is the regime that today exists. It's the one that has been...
I mean, it is pretty damn elaborate, and it's like, once you really look into the breakdown of it, it's like almost like ironclad.
Fighting a war with Israel and the United States, and it is the one that is more difficult to topple than outsiders believe, and I want to show you why. This system is unique, and that's because it's a reaction to Iran's story up to this point. This is a system that protects the country against foreign intervention, the intervention that Khomeini and his religious followers see as the source of moral corruption in the society. To prevent that from happening again, Khomeini says that there must be religious leaders who sit at the top of the system, specifically this one leader, the supreme leader, the guardian of the system. Iran's new constitution gives him a lot of power. He gets to appoint all these other government leaders. But look, there's also a democracy tucked into this system. People vote. They elect members of a parliament. They elect a president. They even elect the 88 people who have the power to appoint or remove the supreme leader.
It's like a facade of a democracy in a way, because like you got to understand the supreme leader, yeah, he picks all the candidates. Well, the supreme leader and these guys right here, pretty much the top officials, yeah, they're the ones who pick the candidates for the assembly, who the people can choose to vote for. They're the ones who pick the presidential candidate. Yeah, all five of them they pick. They got to get approved by the supreme leader and his top officials, or they won't be able to run as president. And of course, the seats in parliament. So all these like three sections here that the people vote for are literally controlled by the IRGC, basically. And guys, you know what's actually crazy? The last election, 61 million people signed up for that. Signed up for an election they know damn well is controlled by, well, the supreme leader and all of his top officials. But they still signed up for it. What does that tell you?
There's even courts to protect people's rights. This seems like a balanced democracy, right? Well, not quite. This is actually what we call a filtered democracy. It's filtered through religion. There are at least 2 religious councils who are appointed by the supreme leader that control who actually gets to run for office or which laws get passed. And once you dive into it, you see that this whole system is built to prevent any future revolutions from overthrowing this religious government. The system has multiple ways to keep people in line. Local religious leaders and state media carry the regime's message. There's a morality police that enforces dress codes like women covering their hair. And in addition to a conventional military that protects the borders and deters invasions, the regime itself has its own military.
Yeah, that's wild. It's like, so you got the morality police, who's on the IRGC side, the armed forces, who are, of course, on the IRGC side, and you just got the IRGC. It's like, bro.
It's called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and it has its own ground forces, air force, and navy, all dedicated to the survival of the regime.
Yeah.
And perhaps most effective, they have this volunteer militia that helps exert control of the regime inside every city, village, town, and neighborhood in Iran.
So yeah, when you got that many groups pretty much just cracking down on the people to, well, preserve the regime. Yeah, and here's the thing. This regime has pretty much been built out of paranoia. It's like they understand that the world wants to topple them. I mean, dog, fresh out of the supreme leader getting into power, we funded Saddam into pretty much carrying out a war on them. Yeah, trust me, that turned them into real paranoid people. And I'm not saying that, oh man, I'm not giving them excuses for this. I'm just giving you the reason why they're like this. It's because of the paranoia of being overtaken or just being overthrown, and they're just not going for it. I mean, bro, they got like three different forces of authority, 3 basically different militant forces. Well, really 4 if you want to count the this group right here. That are pretty much just your average citizens just lining up to be militia guys.
The regime inside every city, village, town, and neighborhood in Iran. And finally, one last special unit in the Revolutionary Guard Corps is dedicated to spreading Iran's power and influence outside of Iran's borders. All in all, Iran has over 500,000 active military personnel and well over 1 million if you include the voluntary militia networks. And so, since 1979,
yeah, that's what we mean by the IRGC is like literally a 1 million man army. Like that's what we mean by that.
System has survived. It has survived invasion. It survived a bloody 8-year war with Iraq right after the revolution. And to deter anyone else in the region from threatening their survival, the Iranian regime keeps expanding its proxy network throughout the Middle East, funding militias that help it survive. Then, the regime survived the death of its founder in 1989, and the new supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, carried on with this same system. The regime has grown more and more unpopular over the decades, which has led to mass protests, but the regime survives every time. And during all of this, Iran has been watching as their formal rivals and their neighbors build the ultimate survival tool. Iran realized that if they really wanted the ultimate deterrent from foreign...
Yeah, that's what kind of kills me, because, like, you know, everybody kind of set the stage, or pretty much set the rule on the global stage, is that, if you don't have a nuke, you can't really protect your sovereignty, or you have no real deterrent from somebody trying to overthrow you. It's like, this is the reason why we don't go after North Korea. This is the reason why we don't go after Pakistan. This is the reason why we don't go after China or Russia. If they didn't have nukes, we'd be effing them up right now. But since they do, can't do nothing about it.
Intervention.
You got to play nice with people who got nukes. And the sad reality, if Iran got a nuke, is that we'd have to play nice with them. No, not that they're going to start destroying the world. No, that's propaganda. No, the problem is we're going to have to leave them the F alone. And for some reason, we don't want to do that.
They too needed nuclear weapons. So for the last 40 years, this has been a story of a paranoid regime who's resentful towards the West and supercharged with apocalyptic religious fervor, secretly pursuing nuclear weapons and using its big network of militias that it funds throughout the region to project power in the Middle East, to threaten its enemies, all in the name of stopping this centuries-long cycle of foreign intervention in their country. All while the West, specifically Israel and the United States, try to stop them through a combination of cutting them off the global economy, making diplomatic deals, and most recently through a full-on war. These most recent wars between Iran and its enemies, Israel and the United States, have really been a part of Israel's strategy to weaken Iran, to not just stop their nuclear capabilities, but to also weaken this network of proxy militias they have around the region. And ultimately, if you listen to the leader of Israel for the last 20 years, the goal is to stop this standoff once and for all by toppling this regime, by getting rid of it altogether. Israel's wanted to do this for decades, and they finally got the US on board. But this is where the long story that we just went through starts to teach us some lessons about what might happen next. First, remember that this country comes from what was, for most of its history, a civilizational superpower, the dominant power in the region. And for the last 200 years, it has been humiliated, controlled by outsiders who have dominated it through coercion. That memory, that resentment is woven into modern day Iran, especially the regime, a regime that rose in a burst of anger in 1979, a regime that, yes, is fueled by apocalyptic religious fervor and belief, but as we now see, it is also fueled by this story, by ensuring that this never happens again, that outsiders will never again.
But all right, I'm pretty sure you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. Now you understand Iran a little bit better. Doesn't mean I wasn't trying to change your mind or about Iran or anything. I just wanted to inform you on what we're dealing with. Because hey man, if we're gonna be going to war with them, it's best you know your enemy, as they say. But the problem is we went into this war without knowing thy enemy, and now we're paying for it. So tough, ain't it? But all right, though, let's go ahead and get into this next one right here. This was a pretty good one. Let's see here. Is the war about to escalate? In my opinion, of course.
Thinks we are heading in that direction. So first of all, I want to tell people about this amazing trip that I just got back from in.
Yeah, he's one of the journalists that actually went out there to Iran and was in the crowd and all that good stuff. So I did want to hear from him.
Iran. I flew into Tehran, and I will tell you what happened when I got in. We had great access. So I wasn't the only journalist there. There were a few dozen teams. So this is an extraordinary number for Iran. And perhaps because of that number of journalists, there weren't any restrictions placed upon us. We could go wherever we wanted. We could eat out, go walk around the streets, talk to anyone we wanted to. A lot of access for a country that hasn't been giving very much. One, because they were probably overwhelmed. They didn't have the staff to sort of follow and monitor that many crews. Probably all told, there were probably maybe 100 journalists in Iran for that week. And they also didn't seem like they thought they had anything to hide. They wanted people to be out on the streets where there were hundreds of thousands, millions of people over the course of the week who were getting free food from the state, who were carrying pictures of the late supreme leader. They were wearing black. I was able to get right up to the Musalla, or into the Musalla, which is a main mosque prayer area in Tehran. It's a place I've been to before, and I saw the casket lying in state there, and people were shouting "Death to America." They were angry, but they were also.
Oh yeah, guys, if you want to know what like the 3 caskets were for up there, it was you gotta remember in that strike we killed the old Ayatollah, we killed the current Ayatollah's the current Ayatollah's mother, so the Khomeini's wife and his granddaughter. So that's if you see like the little small casket, that was because we went in that bombing strike, we took out the current Ayatollah, his daughter-in-law, his wife, and his granddaughter. Which is, I mean, and if you want to know the relation to the current Ayatollah, basically we took out the current Ayatollah's father, mother, wife, and daughter all in one strike. All in one.
Mosque prayer area in Tehran. It's a place I've been to before, and I saw the casket lying in state there, and people were shouting "Death to America." They were angry, but they were also shouting victory slogans. They believe they won this war, and that is a belief you have from government officials down to the people on the street, including people who are in the opposition. I didn't just speak to people who were there wearing the black, carrying the posters. Other people who don't like the regime were telling me reluctantly, well, you got to give it to them. You know, they did fight a tough fight, and they moved in providing social services. Every time there was a bombing, the state and the besieged were there putting out the flames and putting out the fires, and they earned a lot of.
So AKA they performed social services, and they pretty much protected the people from the blunt of the war, AKA winning public favor, as well as pretty much looking like they pretty much beat us in this conflict or beat us in this war. Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to top a regime after that.
Credibility and respect.
Remember, like the propaganda is, oh no, they're going to let their people die. They're going to let their people suffer. No, they're actually going out there and, providing, medical attention, putting out fires, make sure they're bringing water and food. Is like, yeah, that's what they're doing.
Were never any shortages.
And I mean, really think about it. It would be in their best interest. I mean, if they just let the people suffer, they're going to get overthrown. So they have no choice but to take care of the people, as any government. I mean, or at least make the people feel like they're being taken care of.
During the war, haven't been thus far. Even when the bombing started again, and I was in Tehran, there were no shortages in the shops. People were calm, even as the bombings resumed. There weren't bombings in Tehran, but they were not too far away, and primarily in the south. One guy I know who's not a fan of the regime said that the conclusion he and many others had drawn is if the United States and Israel, 2 nuclear powers, can't topple this government, how are we, the unarmed Iranian citizens, supposed to do it?
Good point.
And that's
that's how NATO looked at us as well. It's like, hold on, bro. If you, the strongest military in the world with Israel, can't open up the strait, what makes you think we can do it? And the Iranian people are looking at the situation the same. It's like, bro, it's like the strongest military in the Middle East and the strongest military in the world couldn't beat this regime. I think we're good, guys. And here's the problem, guys. It took like 6 to 8 million people to pop off the last revolution. You telling me we can't get 6 to 8 million people to do the same damn thing? I mean, that's a problem. They probably don't want it as bad. That's the sad reality.
Very tough conclusion. And I think that's a tough conclusion that the state is hoping to prove that they're not going anywhere. They're there, and that this transition of power from the late supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, to his son, Moshtaba, has been successful and smooth. But there's one big problem. Where is Moshtaba? And that is something that the Iranians are keenly curious about, aware of.
I mean, we all curious. It's like a lot of people say his face is disfigured, like he had to get a prosthetic leg, rushed to him out of Russia. All types of stuff we've been hearing, but all we're getting is written statements. He never came on TV and just start, mouthing off. Nothing like that. So, I mean, we're not even sure if bro's alive. We're not even sure if he's conscious. For all you know, he could just be sitting there, a vegetable in bed, and like the elites are just using him.
Every day there was the speculation game. Are we going to see him today? Is he hiding out because he's wanted? And the Israelis say he's wanted. So making an appearance would be strategically dangerous? Or is he hiding out because he's disfigured? Or is he some sort of captive pope, like happened in the Middle Ages, where you have the head of a theocracy being really run by by other powers, by the military or the nobles, the elite? People don't know. And until he's seen, I think that's going to be a question a lot of people are going to have. But later on, we're going to have an interview. We go through all where this war is going next with a brilliant professor from the University of Chicago who's been following this war very closely and thinks it's just going to escalate right now. But before we get into that interview, let's take some questions. And
But all right, though, let's go ahead and get into this Pierce interview with what was his name? Alex Blumenthal. Yeah, this man caught a lot of heat. Apparently, bro went to Iran and tried to come back to America, and they just snatched my man's up. They said, "Yeah, you're not going nowhere." It's like, "Yeah, give us your camera, give us all that. Yeah, you was in Iran. We don't trust you no more." I was like, "Damn. Well, what happened to journalism?" This is all I don't like. Like, bro, back in the day, you could go visit a world leader that we didn't agree with and interview them, and nobody called you a traitor. Nobody tried to say, "Oh, what are you, a Putin apologist?" It's like, bro, back in the day, CNN went to go visit the fucking Ayatollah right after the revolution. Nobody called them traitors.